Hi everyone, welcome to the Analyst. Today we are going to learn about VLOOKUP. So as you can see here, we have some base data which consists of employee ID, employee name, country, age and designation. In real life and practical scenarios, we would have definitely seen and come across huge data wherein we would want to pick up specific data what we are looking forward to. So in this case, VLOOKUP is something which would be very handy and would be very useful to us. For simplicity, we have simply taken few line items to understand how we pull up data using VLOOKUP. Okay, let's begin with the use of the formula. So if we want to pull up the employee name details against the employee ID, we'll simply press equal to VLOOKUP. So here if you see what the formula asks for is firstly the lookup value. So in this case, what do we want to look up for? We are looking up for the employee ID. And one more thing to remember is the lookup value is something which is to be very unique. Unique in the sense, for example, in this case is employee ID is unique to each and every employee name. It is something which won't be repetitive in nature. It is unique to the respective person. So we need to identify firstly what is the unique ID or rather unique key which can be used for the VLOOKUP formula. Okay, now since we've understood the unique ID is employee ID, we've clicked on the respective cell. Now the next part is they're asking for the table array. So the table array is nothing but the details mentioned in the base data. So select the base data from where you want to look up the details. So we've selected it. One thing to remember is to lock the cells. So this is the entire base data. Simply lock the cells by clicking on F4, which is nothing but the dollar sign which needs to come to lock the entire base data which you have selected. The next part of the formula says to pick up the column index number. So in this case, since we want to pick up details for the employee name, which is the second column. First column is employee ID, second column is employee name. So we'll simply select 2. And now we'll press 0, which means exact match. And we'll close the brackets, hit on enter. You can see it has picked up the employee name against employee ID 1. Now we'll simply drag and drop down the formula for all the remaining employee IDs. This has been possible because firstly we have locked the cells of the base data. If you can see here, the cells have a dollar sign which means that it has been locked. Okay, now let's proceed ahead and practice some more by updating the details for country, age and designation. Okay, so again let's redo the formula is equal to VLOOKUP. Lookup value is nothing but the unique ID, which is in this case employee ID. So select it, put in a comma. Table array is the base data. Select the entire base data what you're looking up for. Freeze the cells, which is basically locking of the cells, comma. Now in this case country is column 3. Simply press number 3, comma, putting exact match which is 0 at the end and close the brackets. So you can see the country has been correctly picked up for employee ID 1. Simply drag and drop down the details for the remaining employee IDs. Now, say for example, we are looking forward to fill up a huge table, where we want to pick up details on the base data. So we cannot continuously, it will be a waste of time if we continuously go to manually feed in the formula. So what we can do is, we can simply copy paste the formula which we have already updated. So copy the formula and paste it in the cell where you're looking forward to get the details. So now the only change what is needed is the column reference number. So in this case, we are looking forward to pick up the correct age details, which was the fourth column from the base data. So instead of 3, we'll be updating it as 4 and we'll click on enter. Rest of the formula remains the same. Why? Because Here, A4 is nothing but the employee ID, which is unique and it's relative in nature. As we drag the formula down, we will see that it picks up a different cell. Like, for example, as we proceed further, I'll show you the change in the formula. Okay. And here the base data, freezing of the base data is really important because irrespective of where you copy paste it, it's going to pick up data from that base data itself because we've locked it. And now we only need to update the correct column number. And then 0 is for exact match. Enter. Now simply drag and drop the formula down. You can see because of the relative reference of the first unique ID, it is picking up the correct details like A4 becomes A10 and hence it picks up the right value from the base data because the base data cells are locked. Let's do the same exercise again to pick up designation details. So we'll copy the formula, paste it, and as we already discussed and know, we'll update the correct column number, which is 5 in this case for designation. Designation is the 5th column from the base data, so we'll update it as 5 and click on enter and simply drag and drop. And to reiterate, it's as we drag and drop the formula, it picks up the relative cells. So if you have a look here, it picks up the respective cell within column A. So A4, A5, A6 and so on and so forth. Okay. Now to come back on the other topic which we had discussed, here we had mentioned 0, which is nothing but true match. Okay. Say for example, in the base data, as we can see, we have employee IDs 1 to 10. And say for example, I delete this employee ID 3 from here and mention it as 3.5. Okay. So now if we go to the VLOOKUP area, we'll notice an error. Why? Because initially we had updated the formula for exact match, but now, which is why it is showing up an error as not applicable, because 3 which we are looking up for is not available in the base data. However, if we want something which gives you an approximate match, by simply updating instead of 0, which is exact match, if we update it as 1 and click on enter, you can see it's throwing up details. Okay, so here if you can see for 3, it's again picking up dial and hall. So what an approximate match does is anything which is below. So for example, this is 3.5 and we are looking for something which is 3. So 3.5 and above will be okay. So here in the approximate match, what has happened is here we have updated it as 3, but in the base data we have it as 3.5. In an approximate match, it will pick up the value which is, so 3 falls between 2 and 3.5. So it's going to pick up the lowest one, which is 2 details. As you can see, it has picked up dial and hall, which is basically between 2 and 3.5, but it picks up the lower ID, which is 2, dial and hall. Okay. Say for example, we make this as, let's update the other details also, since here these were based on true match and not approximate match. If you want to pick up the details, let's just update these as well as the approximate match. And as you'll see, it will pick up the same details as employee ID 2. Why? Because in our base data, we have details for employee ID 2 and employee ID 3.5. And now 3 for employee ID 3, the approximate match will pick up the lower ID, which is nothing but 2. Okay, so we'll make this 1, which is approximate match. Yeah, 1 second. So you can see it's picking up the same details. as the previous cells. Let's take another example for approximate match. So here, say for example, we had something called 6.2. Okay. Now, the results throwing up is not applicable. Why? Because our initial formula was based on true match and we do not have any employee ID called 6.2 in the base data. Now, if we want to pick up the approximate match, all we need to do is instead of 0, which is true match, we need to make it 1, which is approximate match. And you can see it's picking up Phoebe Gates, which is nothing but the details pertaining to employee ID 6. Why? Because 6.2 lower end is 6 and we have details for employee ID 6. So it picks up the closest number but on the lower range. And now simply we need to update these details here for the approximate match. Make 0 into 1, which is approximate match. And you'll get all the details. Okay. I hope VLOOKUP has been understood. And also one more thing which I would like to bring to your notice is we have another thing called XLOOKUP. Now the only thing for VLOOKUP is we must have the unique ID on the extreme left column, as you would be aware and as we had discussed. However, for XLOOKUP, that's not the case. For XLOOKUP, the employee ID, rather the unique key, could be anywhere on any column. Okay, so that is something which you all can understand by using XLOOKUP. But for VLOOKUP, this is what we've understood. Hope you all have enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe The Analyst. Thank you.